Welcome back to the breakdown. I am DELACREMEDELA, your privileged host. My bad. I don't know what I was on. Welcome back to the breakdown. I am DELACREMEDELA, your privileged host. Now let's continue. Check in to our main channel so that I could start my meditations. But I came across this story while I was crossing the street from one channel to the other. If you know anything about me, you know I got a few channels and I work all of them every day. So shout outs to all of my channels. Anyway, so you see this story on my screen that stopped me. It's from the Law and Crime Network. It came out 7 days ago, and it's called Inmate Crawls Past Jail Guard to Rape Female Detainee. I don't even usually watch this type of shit before I meditate, but it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon, so I should have way done it by now. So let me just check in here and see what's popping.
You'll go through a breathalyzer, and after several hours at times through segregation.
Officials say a sexual predator who was in lockup for allegedly attacking multiple women was caught on camera scooting his way across the jailhouse floor to allegedly assault another woman. You got to see this video, and we're going to break it down from multiple angles with prison consultant Justin Paperny. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber.
That's crazy. And if you're wondering who's moving the screen around, that's me. I have to honor fair use, and there's some tips and tricks to it that my college degree taught me. So if you see the screen moving around and me zooming in and whatever, it ain't the ecstasy.
You got to hear this one. Arizona officials say that an inmate at an intake facility was able to sneak past a deputy and try to sexually assault a woman. Yes. To talk about this, I want to bring in prison consultant and friend of the show, Justin Paperny. Justin, good to see you. First, before we even get into the video, and there is a lot to get into, what are inmate intake facilities? First, walk us through that.
Well, when you're taken into custody, there's a whole process. You are going to get naked, or as they say, squat and cough, to make sure you're not smuggling anything in. They'll ask you tons of questions. They'll give you a prison uniform. They'll drug test you. You'll go through a breathalyzer. And after several hours, at times through segregation or sitting in a little hole waiting for them to come back and forth, they'll process you in. And several hours later, there you are, sitting in prison. The intake process can be anywhere from an hour to several hours, depending on how many people they're processing.
Okay, so with that in mind, and that was a great setup to talk about this scenario. So this happened back in April, and the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office just released the video. There are multiple
Shout outs to the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office. We ain't got no beef.
Camera angles that show us different views of this alleged sneak attack. So first, a little bit of background here. We have 29-year-old Justin Avery. He was at the intake, transfer, and release facility after he allegedly assaulted 5 different women in public places on the Arizona State University campus.
Wait a fucking minute. Are you serious? When? That's my fucking backyard. What the fuck? How come I didn't know this happened in my area? And which Arizona State University campus? Which one? Oh shit. I didn't know this was this close to home. Damn it.
Tempe. He was arrested
Tempe.
outside of a library because authorities...
So Tempe, that's the one over there by the zoo. That's where we be at. Oh shit. And I just took my taser out my bag too. I guess I gotta put it back in.
Say he didn't have any connection with ASU, but he allegedly used the campus as his hunting grounds. Now, court documents allege that he targeted women at random, mostly in parking garages, groping them. This is according to reports from the victims. One woman says that Avery...
Wait a minute. Shout outs to the breakdown crew. Did you see how that man's eyes was thinking? I got over there just in time. Hold up. He looked like a combination of my daddy and my brother at the same time. Like, should we kill him? Nah, let's let him live. Let's just torture him for a little bit. Listen, that man was not, that man was thinking about the oddity of this person being somewhere they have no business being. What the fuck is going on with the security at ASU? What the fuck is going on in Tempe? And should we kill him? Nah, let's just torture him a little bit. That's how my daddy and my brothers talk when it comes to
hunting grounds.
look
Now,
at this
court
shit.
documents allege that he targeted women at random, mostly in parking garages, groping them. This is according to reports from the victims. One woman says that Avery tried to.
Now, I'm suspecting that it's quite possible that this man just gave him some information he didn't already know as well, just by the shifting of his eyes. But let's see.
Strangle her, so she ended up kicking him in the groin to get him to stop. Now, Avery appeared before an Arizona judge.
I mean, it's crazy. My daughter is 7, and I'm teaching her self-defense and where to hurt somebody just in case. Not her peers, adults. I'm teaching my daughter how to fuck an adult up just in case. Because she's a cutie pie, honey. Okay? And we be everywhere. We be outside. Y'all know it. So it's very important that she know how to get up in them groins. I told her, bite her titty. If a woman grab you, bite her titty. I said, fuck it. If a man grab you, bite his titty too.
He is a repeat sexual predator attacking 5 women here. It is just extremely fortunate that the victims could fight the defendant off to prevent the crimes going to their full extent.
You know what's difficult? You know what's tough? Reading through legal briefs and filings to prepare for sidebar. It's like I'm back in law school. Being told I look like Dennis Reynolds every single time I check the comments. That wears on you.
Who? That must be some WPS. I don't know who that is.
At this point, I think people think he hosts the show. Again, it's tough. But you know what's not difficult?
Is that just something white people always get wrong? Because I don't think they look alike. I would not mistake these two people on the street. One of them looks very English. The other one looks very Greek. To me. The fuck? They come from 2 different sides of the Caspian Sea. To me. They got different hair, different foreheads. One wears his hair over his forehead. The other one is so Stephanopoulos. They got different ears. What the fuck? One has a narrow chin. The other one has a broader chin. They don't have the same nose. Like, what the fuck? They don't look the same to me.
Being told I look like Dennis Reynolds every single time I check the comments. That wears on you. At this point, I think people think he hosts the show. Again, it's tough. But you know what's not difficult? Starting a claim with Morgan & Morgan. How about that transition?
He is sassy, honey. I know somebody in the back heard it, said it, and I know exactly who it is. And I didn't know you were still here, but shout outs to you. I guess you'll always be a member of the Breakdown crew, but he is quite sassy.
By the way. Well, Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm, they make the process as easy as possible for their clients. Morgan, they have a track record to be a guy that, you don't want on the streets.
You just summed it up beautifully. There are some people.
Okay, so again, before we get into the specifics of this situation, my gosh, Justin, seems to be a guy that, you don't want on the streets.
You just summed it up beautifully. There are some people who are charged and arrested and be able to be given bond to continue to work in the community under supervision. But as I read this, he was charged with sexually assaulting 2 people, then immediately out on bond the next day. So I think it speaks to corrections. Some people should be in the community, some should not. And you could argue there's some culpability with the government allowing him to return to the community. Now, I understand the cost of corrections and that it's very expensive to wear.
Okay, so here's what I understand. Never mind. I'm going to keep that to myself.
House people in prison. A lot of these states are broke and they don't want to spend more money than they need to. But if someone is at risk to the community.
Arizona has had a very strong, DMX told you, okay, about Arizona. I've had several people who were like, I am not going back to Arizona because the last time I went, I ended up staying for 10 years involuntarily. Well, you probably shouldn't be playing with heroin then. But Arizona is a very strict state. You don't fuck around here. And I'm glad I lived in China for 4 years and outsmarted that government several times. But anyway, shout out to the Communist Republic of China, the People's Republic of China. Um, I'm surprised he got away with this as long as he did and the way that he did, because Arizona is strict. I've seen people lose their houses over house party. I mean, lose their kids over what happened at a house party. Like, it's wow. I need to check the police blotter and find out what the fuck is going on.
And they've been charged with sexually assaulting people. Perhaps some people shouldn't be removed or let go on bond, because guess what? He did it again.
Oh, so this is about P. Diddy. I had a feeling, but I couldn't make the connection. That's why I said, let me keep that to myself. So this is about P. Diddy. Okay. This is their contribution to the P. Diddy story. I get it. Go off.
With that in mind, Avery's arrested. He's taken to jail. And this surveillance video from inside the intake, transfer, and release facility near the jail is from a few days later. So it's April 17th. So this room is divided into two sections. There's a waiting area for women, and then there's another one for men. There's a desk at the dividing line where a deputy sits, supposed to be keeping an eye on things. It's almost 4 in the morning at this point, so a lot of the detainees are trying to sleep. Some are in street clothes, others are in orange jail jumpsuits, and a lot of them have huddled down inside their shirts to try to stay warm or to block out the light. Some are spread out on the floor, and that includes our suspect, Avery. So Avery, as you see in this video, seems to get up off the floor, stretches, appears to wait for one of the deputies to leave the room, then he sits down and slides out of view of the deputy, allegedly crawling and pushing himself backwards around the desk. He appears to get away with this for a little over a minute as he pushes himself.
This nigga wasn't even handcuffed. And I'm not saying nigga because he black. If you think I am, you new here. Welcome. Welcome to the breakdown. It's a lot of niggas out there. This nigga wasn't even handcuffed. That's crazy to me. How do they keep people from fighting if they have them in an open holding area like that? Well, I mean, okay.
Toward a woman in white who's trying to sleep on the floor of the woman's side of the room.
Oh my God.
Then you have other cameras that give us a view of Avery getting closer to the woman
shit.
before he...
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on, y'all. I'm sorry. Trigger warning, okay? They fortunately have blurred out his body, but if this is a time for you to exit this show, then please do. I'll give you a minute. I'll make sure the ushers give you back a refund on your ticket for the full fare of this ride. So go on to the front desk. Somebody take care of you. Amanda, Rosetta, please, if you could take care of them. Anybody who comes and decides to leave, this is probably going to be a little disturbing.
Appears and allegedly starts to pull his pants down and expose himself. Now, there are other women sitting in the same area. One appears to be asleep on the floor while the other is in a chair. It's unclear from the video if she says something to Avery, but he seems to put his finger to his lips in a be quiet gesture. Court documents say the woman said floor while the other is in a chair. It's unclear from the video if she says something to Avery, but he seems to put his finger to his lips in a be quiet gesture.
What the? And she did? Well, I mean, I guess she didn't want to get hurt. God damn it, man. What the fuck is going on?
Court documents say the woman said, "Hey, get off of her," and that's when Avery allegedly shushed her.
Okay, so the woman did say something. Okay, shout out to you, woman.
And that is when the deputy looks up, realizes what's going on, realizes that Avery's on the wrong side of the room, and as soon as he's spotted, Avery appears...
Wait a fucking minute. So I'm playing this in real time, normal time, 1.0. Do you see how slow that officer moved? Come on, Deputy Dewey.
Says something to Avery.
Oh, once again, let me say shout out to the Maricopa County Sheriff's Department. We ain't got no beef. I appreciate all that you do.
But he seems to put his finger to his lips in a be quiet gesture. Court documents say the woman said, "Hey, get off of her," and that's when Avery allegedly shushed her. And that is when the deputy looks up, realizes.
Look how slow this nigga moving, and you fat as fuck. That's part of the problem. Look at this nigga. Who he protecting today? I drive on 22s. He got one of them right around his waist. What the fuck is going on? And you know you got to turn 22s kind of slow sometimes. What is he doing? What? Look at this. How in the fuck are you protecting anybody? Why isn't there somebody standing up at this time? When I go into the Walmart, which is why I don't go into the Walmart, when I go into the Target in the hood, when I go to the black hair store and the black library and the Rite Aid and CVS's in the hood, there is somebody standing up securing the premises. But I guess once they get to jail, the job is done. Come on, somebody.
Say the woman said, "Hey, get off of her," and that's when Avery allegedly shushed her. And that is when the deputy looks up, realizes what's going on, realizes that Avery's on the wrong side of the room, and as soon as he's spotted, Avery appears to stand up, pulling up his pants as he walks away from the woman on the floor. According to court documents, he
The devil tried to kill me, but I had a praying grandmother. I'm telling you, that's crazy. I wonder if that woman even knows what almost happened to her. Now, the man had just got locked up for sexually assaulting women who had to literally fight his ass off. And that's a big dude, okay? That's a big dude. Speaking of which, yes, we do have to update on Wiley. It's just a little exhausting. I need to give it some space. That's a sensitive subject, and I'm already dealing with Jags scammer fans. We just got the Dalton scammer fans off of us and the Tiffany Henyard scammer fans off of us. Fortunately, we ain't had no Trina Down scammer fans. But because she not a scammer, she just ghetto. But we do have Wiley scammer fans, so I don't like to always have to fight, you know. So I try to spread out the bullshit. Hopefully this dude on here ain't got no scammer fans. Jesus. But he should have been in handcuffs, let me tell it. He should have been in his own holding cell in a drunk tank somewhere, let me tell it. Because they put P. Diddy on suicide watch in a segregated community for what, a week almost? For similar situations. Come on, somebody.
later admitted he planned to rape her.
Oh my God.
So the deputy pulls out restraints, has a conversation with Avery for a few seconds before more deputies show up, put the cuffs on him. Avery seems to resist a little bit as they take him to another part of the facility. So, Justin, I am made of questions. First question I have, why were no restraints?
Hold on, I need a minute. That's why I don't usually deal with this shit before I meditate. I don't. But I'm kind of glad I did. Because, man, once I do it, it's done. Wow. First of all, I guess I don't watch enough news. Now, I get enough information about how to lower my car insurance in Arizona and how to register to vote in Arizona. But ain't nobody told me this happened in my own county. That's not my child, just so you know, if you hear yelling in the background. That's my neighbor and her 5 children.
Put on him, or is that not what happens in these kind of intake facilities?
Sometimes they happen. It would be a discretion of the correctional officer. Clearly, there was a breakdown. Someone didn't think that it was necessary. So that
He in there wiping his goddamn eyes waiting for his DoorDash. I done delivered out there before, back when I used to do DoorDash when I first came back from China. Shoot, they always order. They tip good too. Somebody should be standing. Nobody in there is handcuffed. And there's only one guy, and he's half asleep and fat. That's a bad combination.
Breakdown number one. We can go on and on. Two, there aren't that many prisoners inside of that detention center, which tells me it shouldn't be that hard to oversee them. Three, you can look to the makeup that you have male prisoners so close to female prisoners. That's fine if they're nonviolent offenders. You'll see that in halfway houses across the country, male and female prisoners inside of the same institution, living 15, 20 feet from one another. But when you have alleged sex offenders so close to women, it's a problem.
Oh, yeah, for the record, all of this shit is alleged. Allegedly, 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 allegedly. Shout out to Alexandra Rogers. I know I sang that song in the wrong key, but so did you. So
I suspect they're going to go through protocols, look at all of these breakdowns, including holding correctional officers accountable. And there does have to be consequences for correctional officers here. Without consequences, Jesse, then it can just continue. It's going to have
consequences for correctional officers. Do you see how many officers came out of the other side? Like 4 or 5 of them. First, there was another fat girl with another bald-headed fat girl. Jesus, thank you for showing me what it looked like if I let go. I will never let go, okay? It's hard enough to keep this together. Lord, she looked like Baby. She do look like Baby. And then it was a couple other officers. Where did they just come from? A break room? What were they doing?
And again, someone needs to be held to account. A woman suffered. They're supposed to be protected while inside of detention. And if anything, she's continued to be victimized. And I hope this person who's going to be in prison for quite some time gets some mental health training, some correctional, some benefit, some education on the inside, because it's likely he's not going to get a life sentence if he pleads guilty. There's no chance. So a lot of breakdowns here. It has to be addressed, but there has to be consequences for this correctional officer. If not, people are going to say, this can happen and this person doesn't get fired. I can do just about anything here.
No, it's got to be all of them. All of them. All hands that were supposed to be on deck, up to the supervisor, whoever coordinates the shift, the scheduler, because that whole setup was wrong. There's no way you'd walk into a retail establishment and there was that little amount of loss prevention. Okay?
We're trying to sort out, like, who's at fault. You could say maybe it was the facility for not properly segregating these different people, and especially if you knew that Avery has this history. But I also want to question the deputy that's in that room. Now, you see Avery allegedly crawling under the desk. He later describes it as spider-like, acting like a spider. Who do you put on fault? Do you put any fault on the deputy? Who should we be thinking about is at fault here?
Everyone within that institution.
Yep.
Part of the only thing prisons care about are two things: keeping costs down and security of the institution.
Yep.
Right. So responsibility rests with everyone who worked inside of that prison, from the top all the way down. Someone's going to get fired. There have to be consequences here. This prisoner is clearly mentally.
Look at that nigga's belly. I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me. I mean, he should be at a certain level of fitness for his job. And that doesn't make sense to me, that he's allowed to make $40, $50 an hour and he's not at a certain level of fitness for his job. He couldn't secure that man. He couldn't detain him. Bebe had to come in and do it for him.
Ill, as unable to see right from wrong, and even in a confined setting looks to continue to victimize, hurt, as he said, was attempting to rape another woman. So responsibility rests with the institution. They know that, and they're fearing for their jobs, and more changes are going to be coming. I mean, this would be different if this was like 1,000 people inside of this institution, but there were very few male and female prisoners there, which tells you it should not be that hard to oversee them at any hour of the day.
Right.
Huge breakdown, and it has to change.
And he didn't think that there was surveillance cameras looking at what he was. He might have. I mean, again.
You talking about a nigga? Did you see that nigga? You can't look at that nigga and tell he got a screw loose. We got to do better. We got to do better. We can't be normalizing this shit to the point that we can't look at people and have our own discernment about what's popping. It's obvious what's popping. That nigga look like he crazy. If you saw that nigga walking down the street with an air fryer, dragging that bitch by the cord, naked with his balls hanging out in Henderson, Las Vegas, wouldn't you cross the street?
And he might have thought he wouldn't evade detection from
They don't
deputy,
care.
but
Thank you.
Yeah.
So when you're ill and you're so obsessed or consumed with continuing to victimize people, and I think I read that he had saw this woman and clearly found her attractive. He's already in prison. He's already looking at a lengthy sentence. Clearly doesn't understand right from wrong. What's the risk if he gets caught? They send him to segregation. Someone he could care less about that. The reward was very.
You gotta look at this nigga's head. He in the back. It ain't finished. He got that fetal alcohol syndrome look. Like his head just sprouted out of his shoulders. There's no form to the back of his neck. If you're not looking at this nigga, too many times we put niggas like this in football. We put them in sports to get rid of them and find something for them to do. And then when they kill their wife because they lost the game, we wonder what the fuck is wrong. Look at this nigga, the back of his head.
He doesn't understand right from wrong. What's the risk if he gets caught? They send him to segregation. Someone he might care less about that.
Look at the shape of his head. Look at this nigga and tell me he don't look like he crazy. His head didn't finish in the back where his medulla oblongata is supposed to be. That shit did not connect. It's just a mass of meat back there. He don't have no form. I'm telling you, you can look at niggas and tell they crazy if you open your eyes and let yourself see.
The reward was very much worth the risk. And he might have been studying that prison, looking at the lack of protocols, the breakdown.
Hell
might have noticed this person kind of goes off the grid or falling asleep at 4 a.m.
Hell yeah.
So if you're conniving or criminal enough, you're going to seize an opportunity, find an opening, even if you're in a detention center. Clearly this person did. And for 90 seconds, he was victimizing this woman. And as you said, could have been successful.
Man.
Has to be changes.
It's so, taking these allegations is true. I mean, it's so diabolical, allegedly crawling, not to escape, right? Not to escape, which I've seen those cases, but you see someone come across the room and you want to assault them. That's what makes this incredibly nefarious.
Yes, I would agree. And it also speaks to what I said earlier. Should he even have been released into the custody? There are some people who need.
Here's the other question. Would he have been handled with that casualty if he was trying to escape? I guarantee you, if he was trying to escape, they would have had more urgency about detaining him. He said he was trying to rape a woman. That's why that officer Fluff tried to detain him. But they had no urgency about it whatsoever. Because they be doing the same shit. That's why.
To remain confined. There are some people like this person who need to be locked up, segregated 23 hours a day. Like Sean Combs in that detention center in Brooklyn, confined, not in general population.
I told you, didn't I tell you? Honey, I have a broadcasting degree, honey. Listen, I was telling somebody this morning that on the day she was giving me her 9/11 memory, and she happened to actually be at the Denver airport when she found out about 9/11. I was telling her that I was a broadcast student at the time, and I was supposed to be going to work every Tuesday, but I called in because, as a broadcast student, I knew this was my time to shine. I had to go to work. And we realized that a lot of things that were being raised as what we call in media rumors, we debunked those in my classroom in the School of Mass Communications at Jackson State University. We debunked the whole Iraq thing. We debunked the whole weapons of mass communication, weapons of mass destruction thing. We debunked all of that sitting in a classroom over the course of like 5 or 6 hours with no internet. Okay? No internet. And so a lot of that stuff we saw still go up on the media, even though we knew it wasn't true. And we had professors who guided us and helped us understand it's a business before anything. And at the end of the day, the government owns the media. So it don't matter what you know, but it's your job right here, right now, to learn how to do this research. So we understood what was happening, but I told y'all this shit was about Puff Daddy, P. Diddy, Daddy, D, Love. What was the other name I ain't heard? What they say? Puff Daddy, P. Diddy, Diddy. It was another one I ain't never heard said, still to this day. Um, Love, aka Sean Combs, the son of a raggedy bitch. Yeah, I knew this was about that shit.
Person, no different, confined 23 hours a day, totally separate. Think Hannibal Lecter, for goodness sake. No one can access him or be around him at
Nope.
any time. He is a menace who seeks to hurt and potentially assault and rape women. He should be around no prisoners at any time.
All right, so to put a bow on this, according to Maricopa County court records, Avery was slapped with 2 charges for this incident: attempt to commit sexual assault and also aggravated assault on a corrections employee. He might have been resisting at one point. His case has been continued several times. And by the way, he was previously convicted of shoplifting and disorderly conduct. Justin Paperny, thank you so much for coming on. Appreciate it, sir.
Thanks, Justin.
Of course.
All right, everybody, that's all we have for you right now here on Sidebar. Thank you so much for joining us. And as always, please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Jesse Weber. Speak to you next time.
All right, Jesse. Man, that was some shit. Let me go so I can go meditate. Hold on. So for now, that's all I keep it simple, okay? Ready? Keep it simple, okay? Ready? You ready? Oh my. Ready? Okay. That's all I got.
2,000 years later.
That's my girl. I holla. I know. You want some more? Hey, ain't got no. You want some more? Hey. I holla.